Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are live, and it is time for another edition of NASCAR 06 Total Team Control Cup Series Racing action, and it comes your way at the Talladega Superspeedway for the running of the UAW-Ford 500 live on KRC as our off-season NASCAR content continues. And starting tomorrow, we'll have Throwback Thursdays on the channel where I will be live streaming a old Daytona 500. It'll be a watch-along, so you guys will get to see it as well as I, and we'll get to watch an old race together. So we'll be doing that every Thursday, and tomorrow night's stream will start at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and there will be a poll also tomorrow in the community tab based off of what race you guys want me to watch of the 3 or 4 I have in the poll. So we'll kind of narrow it down from there. My goodness, somebody just flipped in the background. Who was that? They're wrecking everywhere. That Casey Mears that just flipped in practice? Well, we might see some of that today. We saw a big one in the early going of the Pepsi 400 last night at Daytona. Our winner in that race was Tony Stewart. And it is going to be very interesting to see how this is going to go down, because Tony Stewart has had one of the faster cars, obviously, on the Super Speedway races this season. He won both Daytona races so far this year of the first 3. Well, of the 3. And here today, Ryan Newman, fastest in practice. Tony Stewart was top 10. I think he's definitely going to be one of the faster cars in this one. Somebody's literally just parked down in the grass. Whoever flipped is in the grass right now in turns 3 and 4. He is not going anywhere. Alrighty, let's get this going, and we're going to start from the tail end of the field. No practice, no qualifying. We're going to start from last tonight. Greg Biffle trying to redemptify himself and redeem himself off of a terrible set of runs at Daytona in those first 2 Daytona races this season. 2 engine failures while leading in both. Green flag is in the air. We're underway at Talladega today. And a pretty good launch off the start for Biffle. Lifted to keep it off the back of the 41 of Casey Mears. That kind of stalled him out a little bit. Quickly going to have to hop in line behind Andretti and hope that he doesn't lose the draft off the start of the race. And he will not lose the draft from Andretti here off the start. He'll stay behind the 14 car in the tri-oval. And Jimmy Johnson going to lead lap 1 in this one, trying to get Hendrick Motorsports' first win of the year. It's already the 15th race of the season. They are still winless as an organization with all 5 cars. Big run on the back straightaway right now for Greg Biffle as he pulls out a line 3 wide down to the bottom of the racetrack. Managing the throttle just in case somebody was going to try to move down to the bottom right on top of him. Greg Biffle's gone from last to 34th already on this lap, and they haven't even made it back to the start-finish line. Big draft off Jimmy Spencer, who had a pretty good performance last night in the Pepsi 400. Had a top 12. Greg Biffle literally passed 13 cars that last lap. 3 wide down into turn 1, kind of clipped the apron going into the corner, but clears Bobby Labonte as well as Scott Riggs, who was on the outside. Billy Kramer, Mark DeMars, Derek Booth, Saya Z, Corey Freet, and others, welcome into the stream. Massive run in the tri-oval. A lot of 3 wide racing. Biffle trying to side draft the 21 of Rudd. He was underneath the 12 of Ryan Newman as well. And Biffle's inside the top 20. We'll clip the apron a little bit. Bobbled up the track. Luckily he had the 21 clear. He didn't lift. I was hoping he was going to catch it, and he did. Big run on the back straightaway for Biffle. He's going up the middle. 3 wide. These are some aggressive moves by the 16, video game moves. Wow. Nearly banging into the 29 car of Kevin Harvick, and he's all the way back down to the bottom again. What a rocket ship this 16 of Greg Biffle has tonight. And he's inside the top 10 if he can get by both the Jeffs of Jeff Burton and Jeff Gordon. And he does. He's clear for 9th place. Kurt Busch can occupy the bottom lane, though, and Biffle moves up to block the 24 on the outside. Johnson has led the first 4 laps at the front of the field. Biffle's still barely in the draft of the 88. Talk about picking them up and putting them down. That's what Greg Biffle's doing. And now a share draft behind Dale Jarrett to try to catch that lead pack of about 7 cars. Yeah, there won't be a double yellow line rule for us tonight. We haven't used it on the EA Sports games. I don't know if they have it in 08 or 09. I know through 07 they don't. Pretty big run onto the back straightaway. Biffle to the outside of Dale Jarrett. Past the cars on the top, bottom, middle. Pulls to the inside of Michael Waltrip. Gonna make a pass on him, and now he's right behind the 99 of Carl Edwards in the middle of the corner. Backs out of the gas a little bit. Doesn't want to bump draft in the middle of the corner, especially on a bumpier Talladega surface. Biffle going low underneath his teammate. Tony Stewart going for 3rd place underneath Dale Jr. And Mark Martin's up there in 2nd right now. Biffle towards the outside. Elliott Sadler trying to block all the way to the top. And now down to the bottom goes Edwards. Biffle to block the 99. And now he's underneath the 38, and he side drafts him. Tony Stewart to block the 8 of Earnhardt. Biffle to the outside of Dale Jr. Stewart trying to block the top where Greg Biffle's at. Oh, there's contact! And that's going to slow both cars up. Stewart went up to block, and Biffle couldn't lift in time. He hit him pretty square in the back bumper. Stewart actually kept it off the wall barely, but Greg Biffle did not. Nearly had an accident. I mean, it was a good block by Tony Stewart. Biffle had time to roll out of the gas. Well, I mean, kind of. I mean, he tried to roll out of the gas. Probably should have applied a little bit of brake. Meanwhile, Mark Martin to the race lead now on Jimmy Johnson off turn 2. Biffle and Jarrett side by side, nearly making contact on the back straightaway. Biffle back into 9th place as he drafts behind the 29 of Kevin Harvick. Screw the WL line. Yeah, there's no WL line for us. The newer NASCAR games, I try to abide by it, but not in the older ones. The AI blocks you way too much in this. Trying to get Kevin Harvick down to the bottom. He's running the outside. Biffle's just kind of got to stay in line behind him to try to draft behind somebody. So Biffle got up to 4th place. And Tony Stewart threw a block in the middle of 3 and 4, and Biffle couldn't get out of the gas in time. Biffle bump drafting Kevin Harvick all the way down the back straightaway. You can bump draft on the straightaways as long as you hit the car in front of you square, but you have to really, really make sure those bumpers are square, especially when you're 2 different manufacturers like Biffle and Harvick are. I think bump drafting's quicker than the share draft. It's just, you can't really bump draft in the corners. Tri-oval's a bit risky. And even on the back straightaway, it's risky, but it's a faster option. Share draft is, it just takes a little bit longer to get that speed all the way through the corner. People pulling out a line on Harvick, going to try to make the pass for 8th. I'm not sure if he's close enough to the back of the 15 of Michael Waltrip. By the time he pulls in front of Kevin Harvick, we'll see if Harvick can give the 16 a push to get to Waltrip. Two-car breakaway at the front of the field with Mark Martin and Jimmy Johnson right now. And he was close enough behind the 15 of Waltrip, so he's kind of left the 29 of Kevin Harvick in the dust. Rides on the outside lane behind the 15. Gonna look to bump draft Waltrip on the back straightaway. And now Biffle gonna pull out of line. Was helping the 15 car out as long as he could, but Waltrip wanted to run the outside into 3 and 4 again. Biffle had enough of a run to get to the inside, pass him, and now he's close enough behind Tony Stewart, who's in 6th. Stewart kind of in that middle lane. Greg Biffle all the way down to the bottom. Gets by Stewart. Gets underneath Edwards. Sadler gets blocked by Earnhardt. Had to lift to let the 8 car in line. Biffle lifted to keep it off the 38. Goes up high to try to block the 99. And Tony Stewart's going to get to the inside of both cars. A little contact with Stewart. Tony Stewart's kind of all over the place right now. Sadler underneath Earnhardt. Biffle right in line behind the 8. Biffle down low now with the 38 of Sadler as they'll change lanes. Work with the car on the inside. And we'll see if they can catch up to Mark Martin and Jimmy Johnson. Greg Biffle started last. He's up to 4th in just 12 completed laps. And he's right behind the 3rd place car of Elliott Sadler, who is the points leader once again after regaining the points lead in the Pepsi 400 with a top 10 finish last night at Daytona. He went in 1 point behind Jeff Gordon, came out 4 points ahead. Beat him by just 1 position. And that was the difference in him taking the points lead. With Biffle's engine failure, he fell from 3rd to 6th in the point standings, and he's now over 100 out of 1st, but still within 1 race worth of points of the lead. Mark Martin, who has 2 wins this season, won on the Talladega road course earlier this year, has led the most laps in the early going of this race. Johnson led about the first 4 or 5 laps. Little tandem action going on right now as you have Johnson and Martin working together, then Sadler and Biffle. And then Edwards and Earnhardt back in 5th and 6th, not really completely close together right now. They're all separated. Tony Stewart even pretty equally behind as well. Biffle to bump draft Elliott Sadler on the back straightaway, really trying to get the 38 car as close to the 48 as possible as they enter into turns 3 and 4. Biffle didn't feel like he wanted to pull out a line to abandon the 38 yet. Now he's going to try it. That did not work. Really hoping I don't lose the draft out of that. That was a big mistake. I kept going high and Sadler made the block. He made it in time though. Definitely squeezed Biffle, but Biffle had the choice to lift. He didn't. Probably regretted it. Now the 38 and the 16 both lost a lot of momentum. And Biffle to try and bump draft the 38 car again on the back straightaway and try to get these guys close. Biffle pulling out of line on Sadler. Late dive into turns 3 and 4. Complete the pass for 3rd, right behind the 48. Biffle with a run on Jimmy Johnson for 2nd. And clear. Oh, 5th in points, my bad. I updated the points last night. I haven't really looked at it today, even though it's on the top of the screen. Greg Biffle now to try and bump draft Mark Martin on the back straightaway, trying to get these 2 Roush Fenway Fords a little bit further out ahead. Now going into the corner. Biffle staying in the gas, goes towards the outside. Looking for a run to get by his teammate, Mark Martin, for the lead. Off of turn 4. Nice run going into the tri-oval. Greg Biffle going to try to lead his first lap of the race for 5 bonus points. And he's got it. Greg Biffle to the lead for the first time tonight at Talladega. 16 laps to go from last to first. As we stay caution-free so far in the UAW-Ford 500 live on KRC tonight. About halfway through this opening fuel tank as of right now. Martin with a run back to the outside of the 16. We're trying to side draft the 6 as they go into 3 and 4. Guys going back and forth right now. Johnson trying to get back into the mix. And I do believe Mark Martin will be able to get the lead change and lead this lap at the start-finish line. Biffle, though, into turn 1, trying to go back for the race lead again. Taking that short way around and clear. Martin led at the start-finish line that time. Biffle going to try to lead back to the start-finish line this time around. Much faster when drafting than leading. That is the case. I'm just trying to lead laps after having that DNF at Daytona last night. That was the strategy last night at Daytona, but I was also only 17 points out at first, so I could kind of afford to not lead a whole lot of laps, and it bit me when I blew an engine, so now I'm just trying to lead as many laps as I can, trying to hopefully get the most laps led by the end of the race. And keep a lot of other drivers who potentially haven't led any laps yet. Oh, contact in the tri-oval between Jimmy Johnson and Mark Martin. They got together. Johnson will get the second as he clears the 6 into turn 1. It's going to allow Sadler to kind of close in behind. And Greg Biffle out to about a half a second lead. But he's going to have quite a big lead, and they're going to have a pretty big run on him down the back straightaway. We're kind of breaking the draft for right now. Jimmy Johnson not being extra aggressive with it that time. Now he'll go to the bottom where Biffle is into 3 and 4. So he's going to have a big run off the exit of turn 4. And now he'll try to get by the 16. And he is going to get to the inside. Biffle didn't leave a lot of room open on the bottom. Nobody was close enough behind Johnson, though. Biffle's able to hold on to the race lead as he zigzags back and forth in the tri-oval. There's contact! Wow, Mark Martin squeezes by to the outside as he barely gets by Jimmy Johnson, who had to check up after the contact. And Sadler ended up splitting the 48 down to the bottom. Edge of your seat action tonight at Talladega. Biffle squeezes in line behind Mark Martin and right in front of Elliott Sadler. What a battle. I mean, this is what you like to see. Edge of your seat action like this, but hopefully no crashes, and we haven't seen any crashes yet. Oh my gosh. We're getting close, though. Holy hellacia. Got a lot of lead changes already. Really since Biffle got in the mix. Back and forth. The 6, the 48, and the 16 keep going. And this is insane right now. Biffle will lead this lap. Sadler up on the outside of Mark Martin, or at least looking for it. Now Martin goes to the top. Trying to get by Greg Biffle, the 38 of Sadler. Drafting with the 16 on the bottom. Emily Gangadine, thanks for tuning in tonight. Biffle going to clear the 6 of Martin going into turns 3 and 4. Sadler underneath the 6. Jimmy Johnson, Tony Stewart, a whole train of cars on the inside lane behind the 38-6 and the 16 are definitely closing that gap. Sadler with the swing down to the bottom. He was waiting for Biffle to close up in front of him while he had the momentum, but then Biffle was able to get down to the bottom simultaneously with the 38 and kept him in his rearview mirror. Martin to the outside. Johnson's got a big push back there in 4th from Tony Stewart. Great action today at Talladega so far. Saw a lot of aggressive action at Daytona, but we saw 14 cautions in the race with it. Caution free so far, though, at Talladega right now. Be lucky to get out of here with the big one the way we've seen these guys race thus far. It's a 500-mile race. Last night's was 400 miles. And what a race. Caution-free, 5-stop race. Seems about right. Big block to the top on Elliott Sadler. He is pushing that 16 out. Into turns 1 and 2. 3rd and 4th were side drafting each other quite a bit back there. Mark Martin and Jimmy Johnson. Sadler trying to get a lap led, and with him being the points leader, Biffle definitely does not want that 38 to lead. But Sadler looking quick as he has been, of course, all year. Remember, Sadler's teammate, Dale Jarrett, finished 2nd back at Talladega in the first Talladega race of the season. Johnson looking underneath the 38 of Elliott Sadler. He's definitely got to get there into turn 1. People sees that. He jumps down to the bottom now. Quarter tank of gas left at this point in the run. Kevin Harvick trying to get a 3rd lane up the middle going. Carl Edwards drops off the top into that middle lane right behind the 29 of Harvick. And Tony Stewart trying to lead the lane on the yellow line, and then Harvick moves down in front of him into the corner. Jimmy Johnson bobbling as he clips the apron going into turns 3 and 4. He actually got it to grip up down there. He almost got underneath the 16. Can he keep the momentum up? So he's trying to block both the 29 and the 38 for 2nd. At the same time, he's trying to make a move on the 16. I doubt this race is going to go caution-free, though. Not all the way through. Even if we somehow don't get a wreck in this lead pack, there's going to be a wreck somewhere in the field. We tend to see a lot of cautions in the middle of green flag stops at Talladega. So we'll see if that'll be the case again today. The amount of blocks and lane changing going on, though, in this lead pack, that's where I feel like the wrecks are going to end up taking place. I'm sure the pack will settle down if we end up getting one accident, but the fact that we haven't had it yet, everybody's kind of feeling invincible through 29 laps. And if we get the green flag pit stops, that could end up spacing the field out a little bit as well. Tony Stewart giving Jimmy Johnson a big push on the outside. Johnson almost to the outside of the 16, but not quite. And now he goes all the way down to the bottom to try and block Ryan Newman in the 12. And does successfully. Jimmy Johnson to the outside. Half a car length behind Biffle at the start-finish line and into turns 1 and 2, side by side for the race lead. Initially, at least. Biffle leaving the bottom open, though, as he slides up in front of the 48, and Tony Stewart's going to lead now off of turn 2. Stewart has not led a lap yet. Biffle trying to keep him from leading the lap as he gets another run on the back straightaway to get back by. And clear into turns 3 and 4. Moving up on Stewart. Stewart all over the back of the 16. Tony Stewart trying to go for back-to-back wins. Can you imagine if he gets 3 wins this season all in super speedways? Biffle shook up that racetrack. I don't know if he got air loose from the 20 car or what that was. He's able to hop in line quickly, though, in front of the 38 of Elliott Sadler. Sadler trying to give the 16 a push on the back straightaway. Biffle's got a run on Stewart. Pulls down to the inside. Into turns 3 and 4. Biffle's got him back again. Stewart might have scraped the wall a bit off turn 4. Kept going up, never lifted, it costed him. Gotta say, Biffle's like quite a few laps in the early going of this race despite starting last. Without practice or qualifying. He's had speed on the super speedways this year, he just hasn't had the finishes to go along with it, but he's trying to get the finish today. Dark Crypto, thanks for tuning in. Has there been any released like statements or anything about like potentially the reason why or the reason of Coy Gibbs passing away the other night? I haven't seen anything, that's why I was wondering. I know they said he passed away in his sleep, but I feel like he, only at the age of 49, it would have had to have been like something. Hopefully it wasn't just heart failure. But, I mean, I guess that could be a possibility. Sam Monty, thanks for tuning in also. A lot of cars came into the pits that last time by. It looks like there's a slow car in turns 3 and 4 right now trying to get into the pits that may have blown an engine. And there's a car smoking down on the bottom of the racetrack right now. In the middle of the corner, it's Rusty Wallace, and I think Jeff Gordon almost sideswiped the two. We're going to have some cars coming into the pits this time. Biffle staying out one more lap. He'll pit at lap 34. Going to lap some of the cars that were towards the tail end of the field that are trying to get up to speed after making their first green flag stop of the day. Oh my goodness, Mike Bliss started pulling up. I thought he was going to keep pulling to the outside. Biffle had to get around him on the apron towards the end of the backstretch, heading towards turns 3 and 4. Greg Biffle will pit this time by. It's going to be right side tires only, so he's going to make sure not to lock the tires up. Has to slow it down. He's got to lock it. He had to lock it so he can make it into the pits without speeding, because he was very close to speeding. It'll be right side tires only. Full tank of fuel here for Greg Biffle. Again, at lap 34, first stop of the race. Jojo, thanks for tuning in also. Same conditions as JD. I think JD had cancer, though, didn't he? Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I thought he was battling cancer for a few years before he had passed. That wasn't that long ago, too. What, 2019? Because Hamlin won the 500 not that long after it happened. I think it happened during the offseason, and it's crazy. A 14 driver stayed out of the pits an extra lap than even Greg Biffle. Some of them being Mark Martin, Matt Kenseth, Jamie McMurray, Boris Said on pit road. Greg Biffle should cycle back to the lead at the start-finish line this time by. And we will take our first field pass of the race. Once we get to this, well, actually, I'll wait one more lap. I don't want the risk of Biffle running into the lap cars when the AI is kind of on their own here. There's Mark Martin and Ryan Newman. Greg Biffle will get to the lead in turns 1 and 2. Officially, Martin led that last lap, but Biffle will lead this next one. Christopher McComas, thanks for tuning in. Short-term gain, long-term loss. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I trust the strategy. I feel like our car is much better at Talladega than what it was at Daytona last night, just from the handling aspect of it. Daytona, we were a little too tight in traffic today. Obviously, you saw we were good in traffic. Started last, drove our way up to the front. We'll take our first field pass of the race today. We'll go to Matt Kenseth in the 17 car first. He is in 13th place, right behind the 21 of Ricky Rudd. We'll have 4 laps with Kenseth before we move to another Roush Fenway Ford. After that, we'll see if we can get Kenseth inside the top 10. Kenseth the bump draft Rudd. Still pushing him off into turn 3. Now he lets go right before they enter the corner. Kenseth is 6.6 seconds off of race leader Greg Biffle. Kenseth led laps early last night in the Pepsi 400. Big push from the 17 to the 21. He had a pretty big closing rate that time around. Hit him square enough, and Rudd was able to hold on as well as Kenseth there. And they are definitely closing in on this 5-car pack. And then there's 2 cars that aren't that far in front of them. So, I mean, all reality here, Kenseth's pretty close to the top 5. Degenerative neurological disease. Technical term. Gotcha. Hopefully they can find a way to try to help prevent that in the future. Just with future offspring within the family. If there is any way of trying to prevent or... Kenseth going underneath Rudd into the tri-oval, trying to make the pass on the 21 finally. It'll be clear. Rudd's got a little damage on the front of his race car. Or something. Kenseth up to 12th as he sits now behind Dale Jarrett. His only win this season came at Dover. He ran really well at Talladega in the first race here. The Aaron's 499. Matt Kenseth's got a pretty big run going into turn 3 as he is 3 wide all the way down to the bottom of the track, and he's all the way up to 7th as he cleared all 4 race cars between the backstretch and then heading into the corner. Now he'll lead this pack. We've got a slow car on the front stretch right now down on the apron heading into the tri-oval. Caution for the first time today. At lap 41, our first yellow of the race, and we'll see what it was for and who it was. And it's Michael Waltrip in the 15 car, it looks like. And I believe debris has come off of Waltrip's car, bringing out her first caution. So, no accident for the first caution tonight, but it was debris off the 15 car of Michael Waltrip. Field just pitted about 7 to 9 laps ago, so they're going to stay out of the pits. And Biffle's big lead is now gone. Green flag back in the air at lap 45. As they're trying to get a good launch on the restart, he's quickly going to get around Ryan Newman. In the 12 car, that's a pass for 6th. Trying to keep up with Mark Martin. He's not going to be able to do it. Greg Biffle just trying to hold on for dear life right now. And Bobby Labonte in the 18 car looking to the inside of Matt Kenseth now. Gets back by him. And Kenseth in line between the 18 and the 12. Biffle still holding on to the lead up there. Kenseth Labonte working well together right now. We'll go to Kurt Busch in the 97 car next. Caution. Oh, I think they're wrecking behind us. Potentially. Maybe not. More debris off Michael Waltrip's race car. So 2 cautions, both for debris and both off of Michael Waltrip's race car. I'm not sure where he got the damage from, but he had got damage somewhere. And it looks like the field is pitting, so Kurt Busch will pit also. 4 tires and fuel. Chance for Biffle to get back on the same strategy as the leaders. Second pit stop of the day today. First one again was under green, this one under caution. Somebody went off into the grass for a second. Yeah, I thought I heard some cars making contact back there, and then the caution came out, but the caution was for debris off Waltrip's car again. See how fast of a 4-tire stop this may be for Kurt Busch. Almost clipped Mark Martin coming out of the pits. I think he gained some spots. I don't think there's actually cars that stayed out of the pits there. I don't know why our crew chief says that and then it actually doesn't happen. Green flag back in the air, and Greg Biffle's going to win the race off of pit road that time around. Lap 50 on the restart following our second caution of the day. Again, both for debris. We are still accident-free, though, tonight at Talladega. Pretty good restart from the 97 of Kurt Busch. Trying to stay in the draft with the 8. Not really going to be able to do that, so he'll hop in line now behind his teammate Mark Martin. Biffle's getting a lot of laps let in here, though. Busch blocking Johnson down to the bottom lane. He's got his teammate Matt Kenseth on the outside, but he's trying to stay on the bottom behind his other teammate Mark Martin. 3 wide up off of turn 4 in that lead pack, all inside the top 10. And I believe Bobby Labonte has just taken the race lead for the first time for himself today. If he can lead at the start-finish line, which he will. Kurt Busch in 10th right now, right behind Martin, trying to push him up there. And Get him with a couple of the other Roush Fenway Fords that are in this lead pack. Kurt pulling out of line pretty quickly on Martin. Moves up in front of him for 9th. I don't know that he was close enough to the pack in front of him, though. When he made that move, we'll see if Martin can help him out a bit. A lot of side-by-side racing, though. They might slow each other up enough with enough side drafting. Pretty good lap that time for Kurt Busch. Staying on the inside underneath the 12 of Ryan Newman. Biffle up to 2nd again. Edwards in 3rd. And now Edwards looking to the inside of the 16. He wants to lead for himself, it appears. Kurt Busch has a big run off turn 2 behind Dale Jr. Takes him 3 wide on the back straightaway. And nobody's going to hop in front of the 97. He's going to take it all the way up the inside. Tony Stewart moves down right in front of him at the last second there. Kurt going up to the outside. Thought about it at least. Wants to try to find his teammate Greg Biffle, who is up there. Busch giving Biffle a push through the tri-oval. Bobby Labonte on the outside, potentially into turns 1 and 2. And Edwards going to move up, so 3 Roush Fenway Fords now on the outside. Against 2 of the... Oh, what a move by Edwards. Off the top, he had the run. And look at Kurt Busch with another aggressive move of his own. He's trying to go for the lead, but does he have enough momentum? Edwards went from the top to the bottom and zigzagged around the 18 of Labonte. Couldn't clear him. And Kurt Busch goes from about 6th to 1st on the back straightaway. And makes the 3 wide pass for the lead. Tony Stewart to the bottom. Busch crowds him. And this will be 5 bonus points for Kurt Busch leading his first lap of the day. And now we'll go to the 99 of Carl Edwards next, who is not that far behind these guys. And he's 3 wide on the outside. He had his teammate Greg Biffle underneath him. Again, I'm surprised we haven't seen an accident yet in today's race. With the impeccable 3 wide racing we've seen on a continuous basis here today. Down to the bottom, Edwards squeezes himself. He clips the apron. He's into Stewart, who is into the wall, and the caution's out as Tony Stewart went for a ride there in turns 3 and 4. Edwards tried to take the dive bomb, move to the bottom. He clipped the apron. Stewart goes around wildly. I don't know how more cars weren't collected, but the caution flag will wave. And Tony Stewart, I think, is going to hold on to the lead through all that. Kurt Busch got into the back of the 20, but nobody else was involved, and Kurt Busch didn't really hit Stewart very hard, it looked like. So the caution flag is out. We'll rack them and stack them. That was the first accident of the day and our 3rd caution of the race. Green flag back in the air at lap 58. Stewart's still in the lead. Edwards is in 4th after all that, somehow. Pretty good restart for the 99. If he can get around the 16, I don't think he's going to be able to. His top 4 really took off there initially, but then Edwards struggled getting to 4th gear. We'll say it was a little bit of a rookie error for Carl Edwards. Look at that 3-car breakaway, though, on the restart. Bobby Labonte pulling into 4th right in front of Edwards. So 3 cautions fairly back-to-back-to-back. And Kurt Busch back to the lead on the restart. Biffle to 2nd, Tony Stewart in 3rd. Labonte trying to catch his teammate. Edwards to bump draft Labonte on the back straightaway. Looks like Greg Biffle's going for the lead. Stewart didn't go with him on the outside, though. Stewart stays with Kurt Busch on the bottom. They're both going to be clear of Greg Biffle. Big run on the back straightaway for Carl Edwards as he hops to the outside of Bobby Labonte. He's with his Roush Fenway teammates on that outside lane right now. 198 miles an hour for Edwards into the corner. Was on the top there initially, had to lift and then pulled to the bottom behind Tony Stewart. Keep from running into the back of either one of those two. Edwards has not led a lap yet today. He's getting closer and closer to doing so, though, as he's on the inside of Kurt Busch for the lead into turn one. Stewart pulls to the bottom right behind Edwards. Going to give him a little bit of a push. And Edwards going to make a block on his teammate. Edwards going to try to lead back to the start-finish line this time by. Blood, thanks for tuning in. So one more lap with Edwards after this, and then we'll transfer to another Roush Fenway Ford, which would be Mark Martin next. He's the last one we still have to transfer through on this current field pass. What a wild race so far at Talladega. We have not seen the big one and only one accident. 3 cautions, 2 for debris off Michael Waltrip, but then 1 accident, which was the most recent caution when Tony Stewart went for a spin. But he is relatively okay. He's still got speed in his race car and is challenging for the race lead. Yeah, 2 Gibbs and 3 Roush Fords at the front of the field right now. Those Robert Yates Fords have been pretty fast today, too, especially Elliott Sadler in the 38. So at the start-finish line this time, we'll go to Mark Martin. A lot of scrambling for position going on once again at the very front of the field. Martin a little bit further back in the running order right now as he sits in 23rd. And he's on the outside of Jeff Burton in the 31. Martin staying on the outside of the 41 of Casey Mears. Massive run of the back straightaway. Dive bombs to the inside underneath the 31 of Jeff Burton. Managing the throttle. He doesn't want to make contact with Casey Kane. That was not the place to bump draft him, so the veteran Martin taking advantage of that situation. Now he's right behind Kevin Harvick on the bottom. That's someone he'll work with. Jamie McMurray, who had a top 5 in the Pepsi 400 after flipping last night. Running mid-pack right now. Martin to the outside. Almost got squeezed off there by Harvick. Now he's up the middle. 3 wide between Harvick and Truex to draft behind Joe Nemechek. Martin making moves. He wants to catch up to those other Roush Fenway Fords at the front of the field. He was up there earlier. He actually led laps early in the race. Edwards still out in front right now. I think it's safe to say all 5 of these Roush Fenway Fords look really fast tonight. Can they stay out of trouble, though, is the question. Edwards nearly got himself into trouble in that last accident. Martin to the outside of Joe Nemechek for 14th. We'll have 2 more laps with Martin at the start-finish line this time, and then we'll go back to Greg Biffle, of course, who we're racing as for the season. The run by the 6. Into the tri-oval to the outside of Mike Bliss in the 0. Bliss really trying to side draft the 6 as much as he possibly can. Martin lifted, still got to the inside of Jimmy Johnson. Surprised Johnson didn't cut down the block. Martin was anticipating the 48 moving down in front of him. That's why he lifted, but he still got underneath him and clears him up off the exit of the corner. The 5 OG Roush-Gutierrez. These would be the 5. We're definitely going to get Mark Martin inside the top 10. He's up to 11th, right behind Dale Jr. right now in that lead pack. Right there within grasp. Swings to the outside of Earnhardt off turn 2. Clears him. Look at the speed into turn 3 at 198 miles per hour. All 5 Roush Fenway Fords are inside the top 5, or inside the top 10 rather, right now. Only 2 of them inside the top 5 as Mark Martin will get up to 9th, and we'll go back to Greg Biffle in the 16. Biffle's in 3rd place right now in the Granger Ford. Again, everybody has pitted twice today. Once under caution number 2, and then once under green flag conditions at lap 34 earlier. Big run for Biffle. As he gets around Tony Stewart. Edwards not going to be able to get all the way down to block Biffle as Biffle gets to the inside, but he doesn't have a lot of help. And I think the rookie's going to be able to hold on to the lead off turn 4, and he does. Assassin 86X, thanks for tuning in also into the stream. Edwards will lead that lap at the line. Biffle trying to side draft him a little bit. He's got the 38 of Elliott Sadler down on the bottom. I haven't really seen any Dodges up at the front of the field yet today. It's been all Chevrolet and Ford. Mostly Ford. Biffle finally clears Carl Edwards. And trying to stay in front of the 38 of Sadler on the bottom, but he can't do it. And Elliott Sadler's going to be clear off turn 4. One last little move into the tri-oval by the Biff. Sadler will lead his first lap of the day. 5 bonus points for the points leader. As he barely led at the line, he is really trying to squeeze the 16 car down to the bottom. Aggressive side drafting going on there into turns 1 and 2. And they're going to be side by side for the lead, it looks like, on the back straightaway also. Sadler with a big block. He's just bouncing around these bumps, moving around a bunch. Again, they are hanging on. Another run by Biffle in the tri-oval. Underneath the 38 of Sadler at the start-finish line. It'll be Biffle leading that lap that time by as Sadler tries to side draft. Sadler's probably been the most aggressive car on the outside trying to side draft the cars on the bottom. Biffle clipped the apron and had to lift that time to keep it off the 38 car who was on his outside. Edwards is going to get to 2nd as well, and Biffle back to 3rd. It was either lift or wreck, and Biffle decided to lift. So we're back to the inside of the 99, a little fender bang in there. Sadler way out ahead of these guys, though. .38 car looking pretty strong. Biffle could get enough of a push, though, from the cars behind him. He's going to have a pretty big run on that 38 car. He's got a massive run off turn 2. 198 miles an hour as he pulls out a line, and there's no chance for Sadler to hang on to the lead that time. And Greg Biffle, again, back out in front of the field. What a wild race at Talladega. It's been a lot of fun, though. About as good as a super speedway race it can get. So many different lead changes. There's a chance we can go for the record for the most amount of lead changes in a single race. You never know at this rate. Oh, Edwards. I don't know why I said Edwards. Elliott Sadler. Got into the left rear corner panel of Greg Biffle. I mean, Biffle probably came down a little bit. But it did seem like the 38 really tried to stick his nose in there aggressively at the same time. It seemed like a racing deal to me. Biffle trying to block Stewart. Stewart. Oh, and now he gets into the 16. There's some contact there as Biffle holds on to the lead. That one was probably more... I don't know. That might have been a racing deal too. Stewart came up. And I tried to get away from him, and then we ended up making contact still. Everybody's trying to hang on for dear life. 2 tires leads to disaster. I mean, it worked out the first time. Even on the caution we had that first restart when we still had only fresher right sides, I mean, we still hold on. I trust him more in Talladega than Daytona for some reason. I feel like my car handles better here than at Daytona. I understand where you're saying, though, because the tires do matter to a certain extent, especially at this Talladega and Daytona in the 2005 season in the surface versus today. Ryan Newman trying to be the first Dodge to lead a lap today. Big run with nowhere to go with it. Bobby Labonte, Dale Jarrett right behind Biffle and Newman. As Biffle continues to lead the UAW-Ford 500 at Talladega. Bobby Labonte back in contention for the race lead again, and Dale Jarrett trying to get his first lead of the day. Elliott Sadler was just up here leading laps not that long ago. Jarrett's still sitting in the top 5 in points. Comes in 4th. And he did win this race in real life in 2005. Of course, we still have one more race at Talladega yet this season, and it's going to be the championship race later on in the year. Jeff Gordon now in contention to try to take the lead for the first time today as Newman and Biffle try to side draft each other down on the bottom of the racetrack. Jeff Gordon going to take it 3 wide to the inside. Sterling Marlin's a little bit slow off of turn 4. I think Gordon checked up. So he's fallen back in the pack just a little bit more. Biffle with a little bit of a slingshot move underneath Ryan Newman. Newman leads his first lap of the day at the start-finish line. Still outside the top 10 in points. He's contended for wins this year. He does have 1 already this season. If I'm not mistaken, it came in this first Talladega race. Bobby Labonte trying to go for the lead. Greg Biffle side draft in the 18. A little contact, a little fender banging. Once again. They're leaning for sure. Labonte to block Jarrett. Now to block Biffle. Bobby Labonte back to the lead. Labonte going to block the 16 up on the outside. Biffle going even higher. Labonte now has Jarrett underneath him. Biffle had a little bit of momentum, then he lost it. Now he's got the momentum back again. Side draft in the 18. Trying to get the pole. Door to door for the lead into 3. Biffle clears Bobby Labonte into turn 3. Surprised he was able to keep the momentum up long enough to be able to actually clear Labonte, but he did. Now back to the top to block Dale Jarrett again. Elliott Sadler about to go a lap down. He'll be in the free pass position if we get a caution, but the points leader in trouble right now. Contact from Greg Biffle's kind of altered his speed one way or another, at least during this run. We need a caution to get back into this thing before he potentially goes 2 laps down. Otherwise, he's going to be really out of contention. I have to imagine we're going to be coming up on green flag pit stops really any lap at this point. It'll be the 3rd pit stops of the day. Just shy of 100 laps to go. Ryan Newman trying to challenge for the lead for the 2nd time. Dale Jarrett, who still has not led a lap yet, to the inside of Newman for 2nd. And the Rocket Man with a run on the outside as he's trying to win these first 2 Talladega races this season. Biffle kind of stuck in the sucker hole right now, nearly. Stays in front of the 12. It's enough of a push. Pulls back down in front of the 88, who's all the way down on the yellow line. Biffle hangs on to the lead still. It'd be a miracle if we don't have the big one today. We're still not even halfway, but we have seen a lot of lead changes, a lot of lane changes, a lot of blocking, a lot of 3-wide action at the front of the field, all race long. Pretty much anybody who takes the lead Carl Edwards, Mark Martin coming into the pits, as well as a few other drivers. And there were actually some cars that were on pit road that last time by. That will be a lap down. Now Sadler isn't even in the free pass anymore if a caution came out in the middle of green flag pit stops. An 1/8 of a tank of fuel left for Greg Biffle at this point in the run. He can go a couple more laps yet. And he'll continue to do so as he leads. A lot of cars coming out of the pits down on the bottom of the racetrack. Lap 84 at the start-finish line. Oh, one car up the racetrack is sideways. Up against the outside wall. I couldn't tell who that was. I think it might have been Sterling Marlin in the 40. Newman trying to go to the inside for the race lead on Greg Biffle off turn 2. Kenseth on the outside's got to run. He's going to try to hop in line behind his teammate. Newman trying to get a little bit of draft off those cars coming out of the pits down to the bottom of the track. Biffle's going to try to pinch him behind Joe Nemechek, who's still getting up to speed into the corner, and Biffle holds on to the lead again. So we continue to stay green. I'm not sure how that wasn't a caution with Marlin going up the track and then up into the outside wall, but a couple cars got together that were trying to fight for track position coming out of the pit lane. Oh man, Vickers pulling up off the track just a little bit. Biffle just kept from clobbering him. Kyle Busch, Tony Stewart going to go lap down. There are some cars that have pitted that are staying in the lead lap for the time being as well. Biffle coming into pit last second, trying to go for it all. And that was not a good idea, as he is going to be caught speeding on pit road. It's going to be right sides only at fuel. That was a late decision to pit. The only reason I pitted there is because I didn't realize how low the fuel tank was. I didn't know if I could make it another lap, and I almost missed the pits. I didn't want to be out on the track in case I ran out. So it was either run out of fuel potentially, which we don't know if he would have ran out or not, or speed coming into the pits by the time he made that late decision to come in. So it's going to be costly. It's going to be right sides only, but he did speed. He's going to come out right in front of Bobby Labonte in the 18 car still, so he's not going to have a massive lead, but he is still likely going to have some sort of a lead. Trying to get up to speed, though, and we'll see if Greg Biffle's actually going to be able to hold on here. But he locked those tires up big time, though, and he's going to be really abusing the left side tires. Mike Bliss ended up leading that last lap then. Still in the top 10 in points. So Biffle will be the leader. Still getting up to speed in turns 3 and 4. I'd imagine the cars that are in the pits right now, I don't think they'll be in the lead. Although you never know. Waldernate through the different camera angles for the first time in the race today. Greg Biffle up to 5th right now. He is up to speed in turns 1 and 2 at this point. Lead pack charging on from behind. Jeff Burton, Casey Kane up to 3rd now as Biffle, back straight away, trying to get the draft off the inside cars. First Jeff Gordon, he'll get by him, and then I believe Mike Bliss is the leader. He's trying to get up to speed, and Biffle will blow around Mike Bliss for the lead in 3 and 4. So Greg Biffle back out in front. He has cycled to the lead through green flag pit stops, but he did take right sides only. He had a pit road speeding penalty, so that's why he still came out with the lead. But unfortunately, he didn't come out with a bigger lead because of the penalty. So he is now just trying to block Mike Bliss in the 0 as Biffle will take that lead change, leading that lap at the line. And I'm surprised that the field didn't space out more during green flag pit stops, because they usually do. These guys stayed mostly together. I mean, if I would have taken 4 tires that time, though, I would have fell way back in the pack, because we barely came out with the lead, taking right sides. We might have been mid-pack at that point. If the field got too far spaced apart, it would have been really tough to try to catch up. Still a long time to go in this race, but I mean, we'll find out later in the run if I end up regretting it or not, but right now I'm all right with it. Bobby Labonte constantly looking to the outside. Dale Jr. in the mix. He has not led a lap yet today. This is his racetrack, especially in the DEI era of Dale Jr.'s career. Nah, we'll be fine. There's no accident here. Let's make it more entertaining. See the skid marks from Biffle trying to lock those tires down coming into the pits a little earlier. A lot of side drafting going on behind him, though, and he's able to hold on to the lead as they're 2 and 3 wide for second on back in this lead pack, following the third pit stops of the day. Oh, trouble! Dale Jarrett ended up in the wall on the outside of the racetrack, but we stay green. I don't know how that happened. I just saw it out of the rear view. And Elliott Sadler down on the bottom. Gonna go another lap down. I think he held up Carl Edwards in this lead pack. And now it's 3 Chevys versus 1 Ford of Dale Jr., Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson trying to gang up on Greg Biffle. Herbert, thanks for tuning in. He's saying boo Harvick. I didn't even see Harvick anywhere up here, but all right. Caution. Lap 91, yellow flag is out. Earnhardt just took the lead off turn 2 from Greg Biffle prior to the caution flag. There's smoke off the exit of the corner. Elliott Sadler has spun out, probably because he's driving at 3/4 speed on the apron all the way around the track, but Sadler has spun out after being a couple laps down. Roof flaps did their job there, keeping the car down on the racetrack, keeping from going airborne. So single car spin will be our 4th caution of the race today at Talladega, and I'd imagine the field will stay out as we just had green flag pit stops not that long ago. Sterling Marlin lap car will be down on the bottom of the racetrack. And we'll head to a restart here. Green flag back in the air. Lap 95 as we're halfway home at Talladega. Greg Biffle down to the inside of the racetrack very quickly on the restart. Gets by a Sterling Marlin and Dale Jr., so he kind of used the lap car as an advantage because Jr. was up on the outside lane. Gordon down to the inside. Earnhardt up high. Biffle's going to be split 3 wide. Look at Martin Truex Jr., the 1 car with a run. This is a danger zone right now. We are in the eye of the storm, ladies and gentlemen. 3 wide middle. Just hoping everybody holds their line off turn 4. Okay, we're good. I just need a little bit of help. Man, he got shot out of a cannon on the restart just to end up getting bogged down once he got up to 4th gear. But he's getting a bunch of spots back down on the bottom of the track into turn 1. Truex going to get a push on the bottom from Greg Biffle. Look at Martin Truex Jr. go, but his teammate Dale Jr. went down to block. Man, Biffle's giving him a heck of a shot. Biffle up the middle. Oh, it did not work. Cars into the outside wall. The leaders are around and caution's out again. That door closed so quickly. Jr. ends up around. Ryan Newman collected. Biffle was spinning. I don't know that he had severe damage. He did end up packing the back of the race car into the outside wall, but that could have been much worse than what it was. And still, despite the leaders getting involved there, again, that could have been much worse than what it was. We'll have yet another restart at Talladega following caution number 5. Green flag back in the air at lap 100. And Dale Jr. will hold on to the lead. Biffle's got some damage to the back of the car. That was from backing it into the outside wall. Tried to go 3 wide up the middle, and the hole just wasn't quite open like he thought it was. Hopefully he's still got speed in the race car. Takes him a little bit to get going. He's going to try to protect the bottom so he's not 3 wide middle this time. Got his teammates of Matt Kenseth and Carl Edwards right behind him off turn 4. Mike Bliss pulling down to the bottom in front of him. As they enter the tri-oval, Jimmy Johnson in the 48 going to do the same. 88 laps to go. We still somehow have not seen the big one. I wouldn't call that the big one. That was definitely the closest we've seen to a big one, about 4-car crash. But somehow, we have not seen more than that today. We've seen a 2-car crash, we've seen a single-car spin, 2 debris cautions, and then that 4-car crash towards the front of the field there on that most recent restart. Biffle still got speed to keep up in the draft, it appears, though, as he's got a big run behind Jimmy Johnson, just stays in line behind him. I think Marlin was a couple laps down, and that's why he's still up at the front of the field, because of lining up on the inside of the restarts, but he's the only car any laps down, though, so he's slowly trying to get back into this. People pull out of line, and he doesn't quite have the same speed he did before. Mark Martin in the 6th car starting to close in behind Biffle. Jeff Gordon leads at Talladega. Can he finally get his first win of the season, along with Hendrick Motorsports as a whole? And we've seen a couple accidents today, but no big one to be confirmed yet. We've had 5 cautions total. Biffle's got to run to the outside. Thought Marlin was going to pull down and try to block just enough room for Biffle to clear the 40 and then move underneath the 48. He'll drop behind Mike Bliss in the middle of turns 3 and 4 on the inside. Biffle trying to get his way back up to the lead. Martin Truex Jr. still camping out in 3rd place right now. Good run for the rookie. Can he pull off an upset and get his first career win? Or even Mike Bliss get his first career win? His top 10 streak got snapped at Daytona in the Pepsi 400 last night. But he's got a good car again today. Maybe he'll start a new top 10 streak. Bliss just keeps blocking the 16 of Biffle, though he's going to get to the inside of Ryan Newman for 4th. Biffle staying tucked in line behind the 0. He'll get underneath the 12 of Ryan Newman now. Just following Mike Bliss through there. And they're both going to be able to clear Ryan Newman into turn 1. Junior went high, but his teammate Martin Truex Jr. didn't go with him. He went back to the outside of Biffle again. Jimmy Johnson just not giving Greg Biffle enough of a push right now. Probably because he was underneath him. Spotter going to call Biffle clear there. He's going to have to let Jimmy Johnson get back in front of him, though, in turns 3 and 4. Biffle's having a hard time trying to keep up with these guys. He was keeping up with them there for a little bit. He's back to 7th place behind the 48. Try to keep up with Jimmy Johnson. Teammate Carl Edwards right behind him. Halfway on fuel at this point in the run. Again, everybody is pitted 3 times in today's race. Pretty good run right now in the back straightaway for Greg Biffle. Pulls out of line on Jimmy Johnson. Is he close enough, though, to the 12 of Ryan Newman? Don't think he is. And Johnson with the crossover back to the inside of the 16, so that did not work. Biffle back to 8th place. 81 laps to go. We'll just try to keep up with anybody at this point. Wonder if the back of the car is like skewed enough, because the handling's still there, but the speed isn't. And he only backed it into the wall. And it wasn't too violent, but obviously at this high of speeds, there's got to be some damage as a result. Biffle gonna push Jimmy Johnson in the 48. Bumper still lined right. They'll team up to get by the 99 of Edwards. Biffle just staying consistent with trying to draft behind the car that was on the bottom. That's why he went with Johnson rather than his teammate Carl Edwards on the outside. Seems as if Jeff Gordon and Dale Jr. kind of pulling away up at the front of the field a bit. Martin Truex Jr. in 3rd is kind of, I should say in 4th, is holding these guys back a little bit. Mike Bliss is also up with Earnhardt and Gordon. So you got 4 Chevys and a Dodge in the top 5 right now. The highest running Ford is Biffle in 7th. He looks for a run underneath the 48 of Johnson, who tried to pull down and block. Didn't block in time. 16 cleared the 48, trying to clear the 1. Ryan Newman gets up to 4th. Biffle to 5th as he clears Truex. Truex back to 6th in front of the 48. Junior trying to get underneath the 24 of Gordon. Gordon leads that lap by less than a half a car length at the line. Mike Bliss is working with Dale Jr. Didn't realize that right front fender's in the red too for Greg Biffle. Still going to bump draft Ryan Newman. 12 in the 16 with a big run on the back straightaway entering towards turn 3. And they are closing in on the top 3. Both left side tires in the yellow on the tire wear indicator right now for Biffle. Remember, he took right sides only during that last green flag stop. Into the tri-oval. Down to the inside goes Greg Biffle on Ryan Newman. Now he'll draft behind the 24 of Jeff Gordon. Mike Bliss going for the lead on Dale Jr. I think that might have been Jr.'s first lap led at the line. Down the bottom of the racetrack, though, right now. Big run by the 16 of Greg Biffle. He's going to try to slingshot by Gordon. All the way on the apron into the corner. He cleared him, but he ends up flipping Dale Jr. Jr.'s upside down at Talladega. Biffle was on the apron, and there's the big one. We didn't have it yet. We had it now. A large majority of the field collected. Johnson went flipping down into the infield grass as well. There were a couple other cars that flipped in the back of the top 10. I think Carl Edwards was one of them. And the caution flag is out again at Talladega. And Biffle's going to be on his way to pit road. Caution number 6 is the big one at Talladega with a little less than 80 laps to go. Biffle was on the apron solo 3 wide for second into turn 3, and the reason why he was as low as he was trying to clear Gordon is because Gordon was a rival. I was afraid he was going to try to turn me. So I was just in full send mode there trying to get around him and clear him. And he was so close to being clear, but just not quite. And when he came back up onto the actual racing surface, the 24 was there. The 8 was still on the outside. The 8 ends up upside down. And Greg Biffle going to have to come from the rear. And he's got damage, so it's not going to be as easy as what it was at the start of the race today. But we'll see what he can do. 40 cars still in the race on the lead lap. Green flag back in the air. Mike Bliss will lead the field to the green. Lap 116, and we may see some debris cautions following that accident. We'll have to wait and see. Biffle's going to have a hard time trying to stay at the draft with not a lot of help at the back of the field. He's definitely got some damage, but I'm sure quite a few drivers up towards the front of the field also have damage. Biffle holding Sterling Marlin back for now, as he's getting up to speed still into the tri-oval. Now he'll let Marlin go so he can draft behind the 40 at Coors Dodge. See a couple guys going 3 wide middle of the pack. I mean, Sadler spun earlier, but hey, you're right, he was a couple laps down. He didn't hit anything when he spun, so I'm kind of surprised if that is the reason why he DNF'd. Biffle working with Sterling Marlin. Well, at least if we have another big one, Biffle's going to be out of the way of it this far back in the field. Not where you want to be, though, as you get into the second half of this race, position-wise, when you are off the heels of a Daytona race in which you finished dead last after blowing an engine on lap 40. .1 seconds off the lead right now is Greg Biffle as he sits behind Sterling Marlin. Biffle to bump draft the 40. Marlin running the outside. Biffle trying to get him to run the bottom, but he's just not doing it. Marlin Biffle definitely catching the back of the pack at least. Biffle pitted during that caution. Oh, we got a couple cars pitting off turn 4. So some cars are headed down pit road. Kind of at randomness that they pitted when they did. That bump draft did not work, unfortunately, as Marlin ended up in the outside wall. Couldn't hang on to the push, and we've got some more cars hitting pit road this time by. And Biffle just pitted, but he's going to pit with them. Trying to get back on the same strategy and have a little bit of drafting help. It's going to be fuel only for Greg Biffle. Means he just pitted not that long ago. In the hopes that he can hopefully try to cycle back into the lead. I mean, this is an interesting strategy call, but he's trying to find a way to get there. Well, he beat everybody else that was in the pits that time. No, we'll see. Kurt Busch is in. Problem is there's no drafting help for Greg Biffle right now because he's so far ahead of the leaders too. Stayed out for probably about 5 or 6 laps before anybody else started to pit. So again, it'll be similar on fuel now as everybody else. We'll see if he can cycle to the lead. Could have just stayed out, but wasn't completely sure about the fuel dilemma and situation. For Busch, Casey Mears on the bottom. Biffle gets in front of him. The final time we'll alternate through the different camera angles in the race today. And it has been a wild Talladega race so far. Still a lot of action to come. If I had to guess, at least one more pit stop, maybe 2 more stops before the end of the race. It's going to be close. Waltrip still in the race after a couple of debris cautions for himself earlier. There's Ryan Newman in the 12. Biffle easily going to get around him. I think Biffle's going to cycle back to the lead. The way it's looking right now, it's looking like he may cycle back to the lead. Although, the pack that is still congested together, though, the longer they stay out, the more of a chance they're going to have of, when they pit, cycling in front of Greg Biffle. But Biffle has passed half the field, considering he restarted in 40th, and now he's up to 20th. He's about to pass more cars that are just cycling out of the pits now. Mike Bliss stays out again. This car's being a little bit more closer to Biffle. Casey Kane, Mark Martin. Jimmy Johnson, the 48, just up ahead. Biffle will get by both Gordon and Johnson on the back straightaways. The 2 Hendrick Chevys are both rivals of Greg Biffle now. That is unfortunate. I remember Jimmy Johnson, what was it, the Coke 600? He was trying to wreck like every Roush car in the field. I don't know what his problem was that day. Hopefully we don't have that at Talladega. We haven't had too many DNFs up to this point, surprisingly, despite that big one, but we may soon. Not back in the lead at this point. 24th, Jeff Gordon with a run to the outside. He's got to take a swing. I'm so scared. Oh no, he's just going to blow by. Never mind. Jimmy Johnson with a big run on the outside as well. He doesn't take a swing either. Greg Biffle trying to stay in the draft behind Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon. Might have let those two Chevrolets get a little bit too far out in front, though. He was trying to stay as low as he could because he didn't want to take the risk of them trying to door bang him off of turn 2 and risk wrecking both Biffle and potentially themselves at these high of speeds, of course, at Talladega. When you make contact, we've seen what could happen already today. Now Kurt Busch in the 97 will get by. Biffle will gladly work with his teammate, though, of Kurt Busch. Just don't know what the damage if Greg Biffle's going to have enough speed to keep up with these guys. Johnson had to slow up a bit. Somebody coming out of the pits. I think it's going to be a little easier for Biffle to try to stay with the pack of cars that is closing in from behind. Still have some of the leaders you have to pit. And he's got 4 cars in front of him right now. Into the tri-oval. Biffle hanging on in front of Kevin Harvick. Now he'll let the 29 car go into turns 1 and 2. Biffle doesn't want too many of those guys to get around him. Dale Jr. looking low also. Sorry, I saw the red car. I thought it was Dale Jr. It's actually Casey Kane. Newman. Car coming out of the pits of Elliott Sadler. And that just stalled out everybody going into the corners. Biffle got logjam behind Casey Kane and Ryan Newman, who checked up for Sadler coming out of the pits. If Sadler's back on the lead lap after being like 2 laps down earlier, how impressive that would be. And after spinning earlier in the race too. And now Biffle's going to have to get this momentum back again. Casey Mears up the middle trying to pick up some positions. More cars trying to get up to speed up ahead. That's why Biffle's trying to get to the outside. Forcing his way up there on Tony Stewart. Casey Kane, sorry, Jeremy Mayfield rather, the other Evernham Dodge, started pulling up the track going into turns 3 and 4 to block Greg Biffle. He was able to do so, and now he's getting up to speed off turn 4. Tony Stewart mid-pack. So is Bobby Labonte. Both Stewart and Labonte were so good early in the race. Kenseth back here also. Three wide to the bottom goes Biffle. Had a run. Now he'll stay in line behind Kyle Busch. Biffle passed about 3 cars between the backstretch and then getting into turns 3 and 4 that time. We know the Hendrick Chevys have speed of Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson. Kyle Busch had speed at Daytona. The Pepsi 400 last night had a top 5, and we'll see if Greg Biffle can work with the 5 car to try to get a little bit further up towards the front of the field. Gonna have to try to work the draft as well as he can with the damage. It's a lot harder to try and stay in the draft if you're Greg Biffle, especially with nobody behind. Gonna have to deal with it though. Bump drafting Kyle Busch in the back straightaway. Dale Jarrett gonna pull down and try to block the 5. Busch looking to make a pass on the inside in the tri-oval underneath Dale Jarrett. I think they are going to be able to work well enough to get by the 88. Biffle back to 12th. Still 58 laps to go in tonight's race. really want to find out if Elliott Sadler's on the lead lap up here or not. I feel as if he has to be on the lead lap. Just with all the cautions we've had. Biffle desperately trying to keep up with Kyle Busch. .1 seconds off of Jeff Gordon, who is the race leader. I think that strategy did work out, though. Obviously, taking fuel only. It has cycled Biffle back into traffic a little bit. Solar car down on the apron through the tri-oval. Heading towards turn 1. Got a little bit of a checkup. Biffle staying in the gas to the outside of the 5 of Kyle Busch. And he does clear him off turn 2. Base of action there for Biffle to get around the 5. Big run on the back straightaway for Biffle now. Looking to the inside of Casey Kane. He's going to get there. But I don't think he's got enough momentum to keep up with Elliott Sadler, though. He's going to have to drop in line again behind Kane. And he will be able to hold on to Casey Kane's draft, I do believe. We'll go back to the far chase cam for the rest of the race when we get back to the start-finish line this time by. So final time alternating through the different camera angles today. Jerry Fasnat, thanks for tuning in. Biffle have a shot to win the current situation? I'd say so. We have a shot at least. Big run to the inside of Casey Kane, back straightaway. Is Biffle close enough to Elliott Sadler and Mark Martin this time as he pulls in the draft into turns 3 and 4? Yeah, Kane's still on the outside. I think that's slowed down Biffle just enough. Biffle has cleared Casey Kane for 10th, but I think he's going to have to let the 9 car go again. And that's exactly what he'll do here. Back to the start-finish line. I think Kane is getting just enough of a draft off of car in front of him that he's pulling away from Biffle a bit. Maybe not. Definitely not anymore. Biffle's just so close to keeping up with Casey Kane. Almost lost the 9 car. He still might lose him. I don't know. No, he hasn't lost him. The 9's definitely losing the cars in front of him, though. 5.2 seconds off the lead. It was 4.1 not that long ago. Now when the car's like a parachute, yeah. Fortunately. Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson run 1-2 at the front of the field and pulling away. Trying to secure a win for Hendrick Motorsports as they have been winless all season, but Gordon and Johnson are 2nd and 3rd in points coming into the race. Sadler, who was 2 laps down earlier despite leading laps today, I believe is back on the lead lap. Greg Biffle trying to bump draft now behind Casey Kane in the 9. Trying to get him to the next couple cars up ahead. Closed in a couple tenths that last lap on both Gordon and Johnson at the front of the field. We're down to 51 laps to go in the UAW-Ford 500 at Talladega. I'm not going to pull out a line yet. About halfway on fuel at this point in the run. I'm drafting Casey Kane all the way down the back straightaway again. Down to 4.7 seconds off the lead. Kane and Biffle will gain about a half a second on Jeff Gordon. If they can get into a bigger pack, it's going to be much easier for Biffle to try to hang on to the draft. It's also going to be easier for him to hang on to the draft if he's not the last car in line like he is right now in 11th. 4.6 off the lead at 48.438 was the lap time that last lap for the Biff. Biffle the big run on the back straightaway, going to the outside. Oh my goodness, up the middle goes Greg Biffle between Casey Kane and Elliott Sadler, and he barely cleared Casey Kane down to the bottom of the racetrack, but he did, and he clears the 38 of Elliott Sadler up high. With Kane behind him, can he stay in the draft of his teammate Mark Martin? And I don't think so. It was a bold move, but it did not pan out in the grand scheme of things here. Biffle hovering on the outside of Casey Kane, who's back underneath him again. As well as Elliott Sadler. Now he's just praying he doesn't lose the cars in front of him. That's tough. Found the hole. He was just a little bit too far behind the 6. Jimmy Johnson going to take the lead away from his teammate. He led at the start of the race after qualifying on the pole. And I guess now's the time to take our final field pass of the day. We'll go to Mark Martin in the 6 car next. Caution! Well, that's going to stack everything up. Caution is out at Talladega. Matt Kenseth spun and slammed driver's side door into the wall and then down into the grass in the middle of 1 and 2. He had Carl Edwards behind him, but it didn't look like Edwards touched him. I think he just got air loose on the outside lane on this bumpy Talladega surface. And around he went. So caution flag is out. Everybody will stay out of the pits. And to a restart we go. That'll get Greg Biffle back in it. Marlin on the inside on the restart up ahead. Green flag is going to be back in the air at Talladega. Jimmy Johnson will lead the field to the green at lap 145 of 188. We're down to 44 laps to go. The baddest racetrack on the circuit. Mike Bliss to the inside. Martin going to have to let another car get around him, it looks like. So Elliott Sadler will get underneath him off of turn 4. Halfway on fuel at this point in the run now for Martin. Getting crowded by Casey Kane. Sadler pulls up in front of the 6 on the outside into turn 1. I think Sadler might be just close enough to catch the 0. I think the 40 of Marlin side drafting Ryan Newman. Holding those guys up just a bit. Mark Martin to bump draft Sadler on the back straightaway. Big push. The 6 to the bottom of the racetrack now to get by Sadler. And he is close enough behind Mike Bliss now in turns 3 and 4. The 6 doesn't really have any damage from any accidents today. One of the cleanest Roush Fenway Fords in the field right now. And with a block on Bliss to the bottom in the trial, with Johnson holding on to the lead on Dale Jr. at the front of the field right now. Bliss with a big run underneath the 12 of Ryan Newman into turn 1. Six is really trying to push Newman, or trying to push Bliss. Kurt Busch up towards the front of the field right now. Go one more lap with Martin at the start-finish line this time by. Fuel window will open up with about 34 laps to go in the race. And we'll know that these guys will be able to make it on field to the end. But nobody can definitely make it from right now, so we still have 41 laps to go. Newman's starting to lose the 6 and the 0 in front of him. Busch still sitting in third up there. Mark Martin, who could be in contention to get yet another win this season. Looking to the outside, and Mike Bliss. Bliss just blocked Martin into the wall. Martin now bump drafts a 0 off into turn 3. Before moving to the bottom to pass him for 5th. Martin clips the apron though, and he is going to get very loose. They lose a lot of ground. We'll be swapping to Kurt Busch at the start-finish line this time by. Lack of momentum started. Mike Bliss kind of blocked the 6 car up into the outside wall. Kurt Busch underneath Dale Jr. for 2nd. And now underneath the 48 of Jimmy Johnson's back bumper. Kurt Busch hasn't led in quite some time. Earnhardt trying to cross the 97 over. Can't quite get back to the inside. With all the Chevys towards the front of the field, Kurt Busch going to try to break them all up. Going for the lead, and he'll have it in the tri-oval. Kurt Busch back out in front of Talladega with just 39 laps to go. Yeah, I don't see Gordon up here anymore either. I wonder if he blew a motor without me realizing. I wonder if that's how Johnson may have gotten around him not too long before the caution came out. Busch trying to block for his life now. It'd be insane if Gordon blew a motor, considering he was only 4 points out of the lead in the standings, and obviously had a shot to win, considering he was leading laps late in this race. Dale Jr. underneath Jimmy Johnson for 2nd, as Kurt Busch continues to control both the inside and the outside lanes. And the more racy this lead pack gets, the more of a chance that other cars back in the pack will catch up. There's the hopes with knowing Greg Biffle's somewhere back there. I think he would have restarted around, what, 14th? 11th, 12th, somewhere in there. 2 more laps with Kurt Busch at the start-finish line. We still have to swap to both Carl Edwards and Matt Kenseth. They were back mid-pack a little further. Kenseth, of course, the cause of that most recent caution. Yeah, I usually check all the way through the results. Kevin Harvick underneath the 8. Side by side for 3rd. Well, Jimmy Johnson, Kurt Busch clipped the apron. Kurt did it because he saw the 48 do, and he was just trying to mirror drive and keep him behind him by mimicking his line. as much as he possibly could. Dale Jr. the big run there, all the way to the bottom, an even bigger run by the 48. Kurt Busch still holding on out in front of the field as we're down to 35 laps to go this time by Talladega. And a quarter tank of fuel left at this point in the run. I am going to go back to the 16 of Greg Biffle next, and I'll wait to transfer to both Kenseth and Edwards until after green flag pit stops, because we're going to try to go fuel only. It looks like Edwards and Martin are on their way into the pits right now. Greg Biffle stays out. 35 laps to go as Kurt Busch continues to lead, and Biffle ended up down on the racetrack when we tried to swap back to him. Never mind, we'll go to Matt Kenseth. Gosh darn it. And he's slow. We'll go 4 laps with the 17 car, I guess. Everybody's slow. I think Kenseth's got a lot more fuel in his car left, and I wonder if he... Oh, he already pitted. That's why he's back at 26. Well, I don't know. I think Kenseth pitted during that last caution. Because he's got a lot of fuel left in his race car. That means he's going to end up in the lead here eventually. I imagine some of these drivers are going to try to risk it as far as they can on fuel before pitting. Some of them trying to pit now in case a caution comes out if they do stay on the lead lap. Greg Biffle is making his final stop as we speak. And now he is on pit road. Unless he's blowing an engine on another super speedway race this year, but I think he's just making his final stop. Down to 33 laps left. Kurt Busch leads. So, assuming Kenseth stays out as far as he can, we know he can't make it on fuel because we restarted with a little over 50 to go. So he's not going to be able to go that far on fuel to the end of this race. It's just not possible, but he can't get to the lead. He hasn't led any laps today, and I don't know what the strategy is exactly for Kenseth, how this is going to work. I don't think it will work, really. If we'll back up to speed right now. No use with Biffle. Try with Kurt Busch for the win. I'll consider it. We really need to start catching Biffle up in the points, though. Considering that's who we're racing as for the championship. Kurt Busch still holding on to the lead. Kurt hasn't won yet this year. Tried to get him a win at Daytona last night. Was unable to do it. Despite ending up with a top 5 finish, ended up 4th. We raced as him to the end of the race because he blew an engine with Greg Biffle. 30 laps to go at the start-finish line this time by. We'll swap to Carl Edwards in the 99 car next. A few more of the leaders now on their way into the pits. We're still out on the racetrack. Kenseth now up to 12th. And we'll transfer to Edwards, who has already made his final stop of the race. Thought he was going to drive full speed into Casey Kane. He's coming out of the pits, but he did not. Edwards is still on the lead lap if we were to see a caution. Kurt Busch on his way in. Dale Jr. will stay out. Where will Carl Edwards cycle through green flag stops? We'll have 4 laps with the 99 car. We'll go back to Biffle. Depending on where Kurt Busch cycles off of pit road during these green flag stops, we may end up racing as Kurt Busch the rest of the race to try to get him his first win of the season. Assuming Biffle is not in contention for the win based off of where he's running right now. Wait for everything to cycle through. We'll still have 3 more laps with Edwards anyway at the line. Terry Labonte, Kyle Petty, a couple more positions there for Edwards. Tony Stewart in the 20 car starting to close in behind the 99. Still have some cars on the lead lap that have not pit. I mean, there's really only about 4 cars ahead of Edwards. I think Dale Jr. might be on his way in this time, and that is the case. So Dale Jr. will now pit. It's another spot on Jimmy Spencer. Still trying to get up to speed. Elliott Sadler to the lead now. I know Kenseth could go quite a ways on fuel yet also. Tony Stewart to the outside of the 99 of Carl Edwards on the back straightaway. For right now, this is a battle for 12th. There were definitely some cars that pitted during that last caution, though. Matt Kenseth was one of those drivers. Of course, he was the cause of the caution, but still. Or actually, no, he wasn't the cause of the caution. Not that one. Or was he? I can't... I don't know. Was Matt Kenseth the last caution? Is that why he probably pitted? I'm going to assume that that was the case. Well, this is our final lap with Edwards. He'll cycle ahead of Dale Jr. on the back straightaway. Breaking the draft from Tony Stewart in the 20. Jeremy Mayfield is now the new leader of the race. Casey Kane starting to close in behind Stewart, with a single file line of cars with him. I don't think Dale Jr. was able to cling on to the back of this 5 to 6 car pack. I think he was still trying to get up to speed further back. Earl Arnold Jr., thanks for tuning in. And we'll go to Greg Biffle now. Of course, our driver for this race. And he is currently back in the 23rd place position right now with 16 laps to go. Jeff Green in the 43 to the inside of the 16 of Biffle. Biffle losing a lot of spots. You can tell he just doesn't have the speed as he keeps faltering back further and further in the running order. Now back to 25th with Waltrip and Green getting by. Trying to stay in the draft of Michael Waltrip down on the bottom. Not used to seeing the DEI car this far back in the field like Waltrip. He's a multi-time Talladega winner in his NASCAR Cup career. In that said 15 car as well. Matt Kenseth leads. He's the last car to pit, but he pitted during the caution when nobody else did, so he's going to be able to stay out for a little bit longer. He definitely cannot make it on field, though, to the end. We're going to drive as the 97 car of Kurt Busch for the rest of the race today to try to get Kurt Busch his first win of the season and have another different winner at Talladega this year. He's currently in 4th, but Kenseth still has to pit, so he'd eventually be in 3rd. He's going to go to the outside in turns 3 and 4. He really wants the 29 of Harvick to get around him so he could be the push car. And then he's going to hope that they can run down the 48 and whoever else is up towards the front of the field right now, other than Kenseth, whoever the second place car is. Harvick will get by, and Harvick's actually a rival of Kurt Busch, so luckily Harvick didn't try to take a swing at the 97 there. Well, it's not typical Michael Waltrip for a super speedway. That's kind of what I meant by that. Well, moment of truth here. Kurt Busch and Kevin Harvick catch the 2 cars ahead of him. And we know that Matt Kenseth, even if he goes fuel only, is not going to be able to cycle back into the lead once he does pit. He's so far back, though, too, with no drafting help, that there isn't even anybody a lap down at this point either with his pit strategy. So he might as well just try to go fuel only, try to blend in traffic somewhere. "13 laps to go in the UAW-Ford 500 at Talladega." Or sorry, 23 to go. My bad, not 13. 23 to go at Talladega yet. Plenty of time. Now with this 2005 stats. Didn't he win at Talladega in 2000? No, that was 04, I think. Never mind. Or was it 06? He didn't win it. I know he didn't win in 05. Jimmy Johnson losing that lead car. Definitely allowing for Harvick and Kurt Busch to close in more and more and more. Onto the back straightaway. See how much they're closing in on race leader Matt Kenseth interval-wise. Lap after lap, corner after corner as well. Oh, 03. He has 2 wins at Talladega, if I'm not mistaken. 03. Earnhardt would have won 04. Was it 0? No, it wasn't 01. Might have been 06. Waltrip won 2 races at Talladega, though. I think. I'm pretty sure he did. It had to have been 06 then. 03, 06? No, 06 he was in the 55. I swear he won there twice. Kurt Busch to the outside of Kevin Harvick. Almost got blocked into the wall like we saw Mike Bliss do to Mark Martin a little earlier. Kurt Busch up to 4th as he gets by Harvick. He's close enough to draft behind the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. And I believe Ryan Newman is the car that's ahead of this 3-car group right now, but they're going to try to run down the Rocket Man. And then, of course, wait for Matt Kenseth to pit. 20 laps to go at Talladega in the UAW-Ford 500 live on KRC. Will we stay green to the end of the race, or will we have yet another crazy restart? And a finish with the pack all bunched up in one. Yeah, it wasn't 06 because he wasn't with DEI anymore. I think maybe it was 2005. It would have had to have been the spring race, though. Because Jarrett won the fall race. He only won once at Talladega. I thought he won there twice. I was thinking he had 5 Cup wins. Kevin Harvick losing the 48 and the 97 now. Kurt Busch finishing 4th at Daytona, though. He's looking pretty good on the super speedways and looking for that first win of the season. Be the 4th different Roush car to win and the 8th different winner this year if he can pull off the victory. Johnson also trying to become a new winner, along with Kevin Harvick back there in the top 5 as well. Big run to the bottom of the track for Kurt Busch as he pulls to the inside of Jimmy Johnson for the race lead. I should say for 3rd, but it's eventually going to be for 2nd. Newman down to block the 97 on the inside. Kurt Busch will clear Jimmy Johnson in the middle of turns 1 and 2. And now Kurt Busch trying to get by the 12 of Ryan Newman. He's got a big run on the back straightaway. Down to the inside of the racetrack. Kenseth continues to lead, but it's Kurt Busch who's up to 2nd. It will be the leader once Kenseth pits. 17 laps to go at Talladega, this time by Kurt Busch. Right back to 2nd. And again, this will be the battle for the win. He only has 4 Cup wins. I thought he had 5. A 3-car battle right now, and Kevin Harvick trying to close in, but he doesn't have any drafting help with him. 16 laps to go for Kenseth right now, but again, we are assuming Matt Kenseth has to pit before the end of the race. If he somehow makes it on field to the end, I don't think he will. Again, we had about 51 to go on that restart. So you wouldn't think Kenseth's going to make it, especially no drafting help. I would have expected him to pit right around now, but still hasn't done it. Seen guys pit within about 33 to 36 laps into a run. We're right at that point right now during this green flag run. Busch had one of the fastest cars in the field last night. Let the wind slip away. He was leading late. Kind of clipped the apron, got a bit loose, never got back to the lead, finished 4th. As the race eventually had a caution with 2 to go, which ended the race. Kurt Busch not letting that potentially happen today. I think it's going to be just between these 4 cars at the front of the field unless we get a caution. Then again, everybody is going to be back in it again. It's going to be much harder to get runs on Kurt Busch, though, with the lack of numbers in a pack. And that's why Kurt's able to hold on to the lead pretty easily with these blocks on Ryan Newman. Car's going to move around in the middle of the corners through these bumps at Talladega quite a bit. He's just got to still kind of keep control of the car as much as he can. Through it all. Newman down low underneath Busch. There aren't any lead changes when these guys are going back and forth, though, either. Kurt underneath the 12 of Newman. Newman really trying to squeeze the 97 and force him into a mistake like Kurt Busch made last night when he clipped the apron, but Busch not going to do it. Door to door. The 12 and the 97 off turn 2. Jimmy Johnson going to the outside. Kurt Busch going to cut him off. Newman trying to break the draft down to the bottom. Kurt with a massive run into the corner. Newman up the block on the outside. Busch back to the bottom. How can Kurt try to get a run with the lack of numbers? He will get the run. He goes all the way to the bottom. Newman down to try to squeeze and side draft the 97. 12 to go. And Kurt Busch has cleared Ryan Newman into turns 1 and 2 again. Guy's going for all the marbles. Ryan Newman, of course, trying to win both Talladega races like Tony Stewart has won both Daytona races this season. Newman not known for being a super speedway racer. A good one at least, but he does have a Daytona 500 win under his resume, although it wasn't quite at this time period. It didn't come until 2008 with Penske in that number 12 car. 11 laps to go at the line. Matt Kenseth's still out on the racetrack right now as Kurt Busch rides in second. Halfway on fuel for Kurt Busch at this point in the run. Matt Kenseth is going to stay out of the pits again, so just 10 laps to go at the line now for Matt Kenseth at the front of the field. If anybody else could stay organized back from pretty much 6th on back in the running order right now, can they catch the top 4? Especially at the 97 to the 12. Racing side by side like they are. Busch got a little loose off turn 4 when 12 was all over the left rear corner panel. Newman to block Johnson on the outside. Kurt Busch was able to hold on to the lead though. Kept the hammer down. He wasn't going to lift despite getting loose that time. Newman again looking low. Big block by Kurt Busch as he squeezes and pinches off the 48 of Johnson on the exit of turn 2. 9 to go for Kenseth at the line. Busch with a slingshot move to get back by Newman into turn 3. Busch trying to lead this small pack again. It's amazing how far these guys are ahead of everybody else after the cycling of pit stops. Only going to have 8 laps to go this time by for Kenseth. He has gone an awfully long ways on fuel. He's staying out again. Kenseth will stay out another 2.66 miles. I wonder if he's just going to run it dry. There's no way these guys were going to have a shot to catch him. Even if I share drafted behind, we were going to make up 25 seconds in about 20 laps. And 2 cars are faster than 1, but not by that much. A bumpier Talladega at that. But nevertheless, these guys have to battle, knowing that they're not going to catch Matt Kenseth. They're just going to have to hope he's going to have to pit, which by our calculations he should have to pit, but he hasn't yet. Newman again looking low. Side drafts to 97. He gets so close that left rear corner panel off the exit of the corner, and Kurt does a great job keeping it off the 12 and also keeping it off the wall on the outside as he gets pinched. 7 to go for Kenseth at the line as he stayed out that time by. Oh, Newman got loose. He clipped the apron going into turn 3, and Jimmy Johnson's going to take over the spot. Harvick will get underneath the 12 now. That's going to break this pack up a little bit, which is what the drivers further on behind are going to need. If Kenseth could catch the tail end of the field, he might be able to save some fuel in the draft. Newman was able to slide down in front of Kevin Harvick. But the 48 is definitely by. Kurt Busch got way out ahead of these guys now. And Johnson's going to go to the outside. Kenseth will pit this time off of turn 4. We'll see if he goes fuel only, but I would have to imagine even if he does, that the leaders are going to cycle back around Matt Kenseth. And they'll be coming to 6 laps to go at the start-finish line, and this is for the win. Kurt Busch, Jimmie Johnson, Ryan Newman, Kevin Harvick. 3 of these 4 have not won yet this season. Johnson claps the wall off turn 4. Newman to the inside. He'll take over second again. I think the 97 and the 12 are the 2 strongest of the 4 in this group. There's another 2 cars in 5th and 6th back there that are starting to catch up as well. Kurt Busch will lead that lap at the line as Kenseth was just leaving pit road. Greg Biffle, no real shot to win. Kurt Busch was in the lead leading into those final pit stops. So that's why we're racing as Kurt Busch to the end, trying to get him his first win of the season. We're just hoping that Biffle could get at least a decent finish. He was caught up in the big one earlier and has too much damage and could not keep up with the leaders anymore. And that's another reason why we went with Kurt Busch, who has kept his car clean today. Jimmie Johnson to the bottom of the racetrack. Kurt couldn't hold the bottom. Squeezes the 48. Johnson clips the apron, but he didn't get loose like Newman. He holds onto it, and Jimmie Johnson leads onto the front stretch. Off turn 4. Busch back to the inside as he tries to cross him back over to the line. 5 laps to go at Talladega. Newman and Harvick are side by side for 3rd as well. It's Busch and Johnson. Busch way up wide. Cars are slipping and sliding. Newman's going to get the 2nd. Big run for the 97. Gets to the outside of Ryan Newman. But the 12 and the 48 are going to go to the bottom. Newman actually side drafting the 97, and Johnson's pulling away a bit. Off turn 4. Harvick to push the 12 of Newman. And Kurt Busch is now back to 4th place. 4 laps to go. Johnson getting way ahead of the pack now. Harvick to the inside of Ryan Newman for 2nd. Kurt Busch to follow the 29. Caution comes out. The race could realistically end. We had a caution with 2 to go in the Pepsi 400 at Daytona last night, and it ended the race. Oh, Harvick slid right in front of Ryan Newman, and that's going to cut the draft off from Kurt Busch. Busch leaning on Newman just a little bit, trying to stay in the draft behind the 29 of Harvick. Harvick up to 2nd. Top 3, all winless this season, looking for their first win and to become the 8th different winner of the season, as we are in the 15th race of the year. Harvick on the inside with Kurt Busch. Newman may lose these guys if he's not careful. 3 to go at the line. Harvick and Busch are closing in on Jimmie Johnson. A 48.596 that last lap. And again, 5th and 6th are trying to close in as well. Busch bobbled a bit in turns 1 and 2. Nobody's lifting at this point, though. Harvick looking low for the lead. Back straightaway. Kurt Busch to the outside of the 29. Squeezes as he clears the 29 of Harvick, and now down to the inside of Jimmie Johnson for the lead. A slingshot move, and he's clear in the middle of 3 and 4. 48 up high. Kurt Busch to block. Now Harvick to the inside. He gets stalled out by the momentum off the top by the 48 of Johnson, who was able to side draft Harvick's right rear corner panel, and Kurt Busch leads with 2 laps to go. Harvick and Johnson still side by side. Newman closing in behind him now. Still don't know who's back there at 5th and 6th. I think it might be Carl Edwards and Tony Stewart. Kurt could use a teammate right now. He's outnumbered. He's the only Ford in this group. There's Johnson and Harvick are side by side into turn 3. Kurt Busch continues to hold on to the lead. Newman down low, giving Harvick a push. Off of turn 4. Harvick thought about swinging wide, but the 48 was already there. Massive run coming. And to the white flag we go. Final lap. No cautions on the final lap. We're going to race back to the checker. Kurt Busch looking for his first win of the season. Bottom lane left open just a tad. Harvick squeezes underneath him. Kurt Busch didn't want to chop down the 29. Kevin Harvick is not quite clear yet off of turn 2. He's got help from the 12 of Ryan Newman. Newman going to give the 97 a push. A little bit of a bumper bang on the inside of the racetrack as Kurt Busch knocks the 29 of Kevin Harvick out of the way, and he leads into turn 3. Destined to not lose this race is Kurt Busch. Ryan Newman to the inside now off of turn 4. Newman has a run into the tri-oval. Ryan Newman is going to steal the win at Talladega, and he's going to get the sweep as he blocks Kurt Busch down to the yellow line. Ryan Newman has won the UAW-Ford 500 by 84 one-thousandths of a second at the line as he steals the win away from Kurt Busch and Kevin Harvick on the final lap. I don't even know how he got down there so quick. I think the run was just stalled out by the 97 after the contact with the 29. And that's why Ryan Newman had such a big run going into turn 3 that Kevin Harvick couldn't block it. And Ryan Newman has done it again. His second win at Talladega this season. And that was Edwards and Stewart 5th and 6th that were closing in late as well. I mean, he just got shot out of a cannon there through that final corner and onto the front stretch. And Kurt Busch comes up close back-to-back races but can't get the win. And this one getting passed on the final lap. I need to go back and look at that again. We'll check the highlight reel. I don't know if it's going to show. That was coming to the checker. That was a little earlier in the race, I do believe. Yeah, that was coming to the checker. Almost got underneath him. He blocked down below that yellow line, too. He was committed. He knew where we were willing to go. Man, I thought I made the race-winning move when I got by Harvick. Fended him off, but not Ryan Newman. I don't know. I'm going back and looking at the finish on my screen. I want to see how he got around us. He gave us the push on the outside initially. I was able to block him into 3. And once he moved to the bottom of the racetrack, I mean, he had like half his car down below the yellow line. I couldn't really block below that, and he just cleared me. I mean, he cleared me so fast I couldn't even side draft him. Yeah, I mean, he won. He won flat out. He beat me. I didn't think that was going to be the way we were going to lose this race, but chalk up another L for me on a super speedway, whether I'm driving as my own car or not. We still have to see where we finished yet. Ryan Newman led just 3 laps in today's race, but obviously he led the last lap, which is why he is the winner. 43 lead changes, 7 cautions for 21 caution laps. So he literally had half as many cautions as last night. Last night was 100 miles shorter of a race at Daytona. 3 hours, 15 minutes total time of today's race. Margin of victory, 84 one-thousandths of a second. Average race speed, 153.69 miles per hour. Kurt Busch led 17 laps, finishing in 2nd place tonight. Jimmy Johnson from the pole led 20 laps, finished 3rd. He was up front most of the day. Kevin Harvick ends up 4th with no laps led, and Carl Edwards rounds out the top 5 with 9 laps led in 5th. Tony Stewart led 3 laps, finished 6th. Kyle Busch, back-to-back top 10s for the rookie there, finishing 7th. Points leader Elliott Sadler led 3 laps early in the day, ended up going 2 laps down, came back on the lead lap after starting 2nd, still got a top 10 finish 8th. What a roller coaster of a day for him. Mike Bliss ended up leading 18 laps, finished 9th, another top 10 for him. He now has, 12 top 10s in the last 13 races? That's just insane. Casey Kane ends up rounding out the top 10, another young driver getting a good finish today. I'm not sure who led the most laps Maybe it was Johnson with 20? No, it wasn't Johnson. I wonder if Biffle led the most. So he led a lot early in the race, but he didn't lead hardly at all in the second half. Let's see here. Mark Martin finished 14th. He led 10. 47 laps left for Biffle. Finished 17th. And ended up finishing with 10 bonus points. So yeah, Biffle led the most laps today. He's now led over 1,000 laps this season. Had a fast car, but once he got caught up in the big one, it wasn't that fast anymore, and he was mired mid-pack. And again, ended up finishing 17th. Matt Kenseth finished 31st, led 19 laps on his fuel strategy. Those were the only laps he led the entire way. And we had a grand total of 37 drivers finish on the lead lap. Sterling Marlin finished a lap down still. Kyle Petty, DNF. Jeff Gordon led 21 laps. He blew an engine. I think he was in the lead when it happened. Jamie McMurray blew an engine. Travis Quaffle blew an engine. Rusty Wallace blew an engine. So it looked like we had 5 DNFs in tonight's race in total. We'll check out the point standings before we get into the next race, which will not be until, I believe, next week. And that next race will be at Bristol for the Food City 500. So we'll check out the point standings. No Torres, I saw you in the chat there late, but thanks for tuning in. As well as anybody else who I did not shout out earlier on in the event. And the point standings still has Elliott Sadler on top with the top 10 finish today. Jeff Gordon with that DNF now will fall back to third. He only lost 1 spot, but he goes from 4 points out of first to 103 back, so he lost 99 points to Sadler. Jimmy Johnson, 62 back at second. Tony Stewart up to fourth. Kurt Busch with back-to-back top 5s is now up to fifth, 126 out of first. Bliss up another spot in points with his top 10. And Greg Biffle finishing 17th. Falls a little bit further behind in the point standings now as he loses 2 spots. He's back to 7th. 136 out of first, still within 1 race worth of points. As is the top 8, still within 1 race worth of points after 15 races. That's just insane. Dale Jarrett back to 9th. It's 161 out of first. But even he's not that far back in all reality. I mean, you look at the top 13, they somewhat realistically have a shot at the title, I'd say. I mean, even we still have over half the season left, and Mark Martin has had speed. He just hasn't had consistency. He's got 2 wins. I think he's the lowest in standings with a win. He has 2 of them. Now Ryan Newman's got 2. Tony Stewart's got 2. Biffle has 6. Those are the only multi-time winners, and then Edwards has 1. Jarrett has 1. Sadler has 1. But yeah, hey, it was a pretty good race, though, for the most part. Kind of sucks that Biffle got caught up in the big one, but we tried to make a 3-wide move for the lead up the middle with, a little over 50 to go, and the gap closed very quickly, and we ended up... I mean, we basically hooked the 24 and the 8 simultaneously. The 8 was on the outside, 24 on the bottom, the 24 into the 8. The 8 ended up upside down. That was the big one in today's race. I wondered if we were going to have it the way we were racing, just incredibly, honestly, non-stop. And then we finally got the big one up at the front of the field, which took out a lot of cars. At least knocked a lot of them out with damage. I'm sure Gordon being involved in that accident didn't help him finish this race today. He might be a rival of Biffle's going forward, so hopefully when we go into Bristol next week, nothing major happens there. Tune in tomorrow night on the channel at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be doing a Throwback Thursday live stream where I'll be doing a watch-along of an old Daytona 500. We'll be doing that every Thursday leading up to the start of the 2023 season, where I'll go back, watch old Daytona 500s, and then once the season begins, if those streams do well, then and a lot of people come out and watch, then we will do them throughout the course of the NASCAR season as well, based on the track that they are racing that week. We'll watch an old race of, wherever it's at. Be on the lookout in the community tab. I'll have a poll up here very shortly as to what stream or what race you want me to stream tomorrow night. Daytona 500 related. We're going to start off with either a late 90s or early 2000s Daytona 500. They do have to be, I think, 7 years old at least, so I can't watch anything that is within the last 7 years when I'm doing these. Otherwise, it'll get copyrighted. So I think from 2015 onward, either 2014 on back or 2015 on back. Because it's in the off season, I'm not sure like what the 7 years dictates. So we'll figure that out obviously as we get further along. But I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.